good people? You are now listening to another episode of At the Plate with Danny Foxworth. I am your humble narrator, Danny Foxworth, and once again, we're joined by an extremely special guest. This brother reached out to me. He was like, "Man, I appreciate what you're doing. Just keep it up, and I'd love to be a guest." I'm like, "You know what? Let's put the wheels in motion." So, without further ado, we have husband, father, attorney, Auburn University alum. For the first time on At the Plate with Danny Foxworth, we have the good brother Lionel Joiner, Esquire. Lionel, what's good, bro?
Man, good to be here, man. I really appreciate you accepting the invite. Like I said in the message I sent, like I heard you on the fellas Hot Fire Starter. Man, I've been
Mhm.
listening to them for like 12 years. So I was like, man, this brother got a baseball podcast, man. And there's one of the few brothers around me that really is into baseball. I was like, man, it'd be real cool to jump on with you, bro. So appreciate you having me.
Yes, sir. Glad to have you aboard. So, first off, how did you get into baseball?
So, man, baseball was my first love, really. I started playing coach pitch when I was 4. I really think the connection was my grandfather. A lot of my family was like, man, you resemble him so much. And he was a big baseball fan. So it really connected us when I was growing up. And I remember when I was 10, he bought me a baseball almanac that had like all the record holders and title winners and stuff like that. Man, I loved that book. I would read it religiously. So at that age, if you asked me who was the leading RBI all time or most hits, I had it down.
Yeah.
My recall isn't as good these days, but yeah. So it was that, and then man, baseball is such a simple game. I really gravitate to sports where anybody can be good at it. And I think one of the things that I love about baseball is just it's really throwing, catching, and hitting the baseball. And that's why you see countries that aren't as financially well off as America really dominating because they have full access to it. It's an easy game to play. As long as you got a stick and the ball, like you can have at it. So I think that simplicity of it really drew me into it.
Right on. So, how did you become latched? How did you what made you become attached to the Braves?
It's funny because I grew up in Alabama, so you would think I was a lifelong Braves fan, but I really wasn't, man. The Braves heyday, I really didn't mess with them too much. When they had Glavine and Smoltz and Gann and all those cats, I really didn't like the Braves, mainly because they won so much. Like I wasn't really, and they had some guys with some swag, but like back then, like I was really deep into King Griffey. I think one of my favorite players growing up at that time was Cal Ripken Jr. And of course,
Yeah.
none of them dudes was getting no wins, in part because of the Braves and some other people. And so I didn't really like them. But I think when I moved to Atlanta about 7 years ago was when I really started to really pay attention to the Braves. And then when Ronald Acuna got there and he blew up, like that's really
Yes.
what got me into it. Like he's my favorite player right now. One of my
Mine
favorites.
too.
He's up there with Griffey and Bonds and all those dudes. And so that's really what drew me in to my Braves fandom is Acuna. I'm still a little, I'm glad they got that chip, but I'm a little bitter he was hurt that year and they
Yeah.
got without him. But so that's really why I follow him, to be honest. Like I'm not the most diehard, but I do try to keep up with him. Although this year it's been rough. Like it's
Yeah.
been a rough one
Man.
to really follow him. Like it seemed like everything that could go wrong this year has gone wrong. So, he's really the only part of the season that hasn't been a complete and utter failure. But, hopefully they'll right the ship.
Yeah, hopefully, man. Just seeing, especially Michael Harris the second, I had high hopes for him this year, and he's been wetting the bed pretty much all season between him
Yeah.
and Ozzy Albies.
Really, Ozuna too. I mean, Ozuna started hot to begin the year. Like he had like 10 homers in like the first 30 some games. I think he's had less than five since then.
Wow.
And so, I mean, he's been dealing with a nagging injury. Matt Olson's been okay, but he could produce more at the plate. Austin Riley's been disappointing this year.
Yeah.
He's dealt with some injuries too. So it's really just been and then what really started the season of misery was Jackson Profar getting hit with the suspension.
Yeah.
Like that's when it really like kicked off. Like 'cause he was really the only big free agency acquisition we had this year. A lot of people were hoping they would make some more splashy moves to bolster the bullpen, but the Braves don't. They kind of still operate on that small town mindset. Supplemental moves here. Just keep your homegrown talent. In intra team. They like to sign guys to big contracts early on, where most teams will let it play out, let it go to arbitration. And so really that's really the conflux we in right now is we got a bunch of guys that are on team friendly but long term deals. And it's like, what do you do with them? Like you got Ozzy Albies who's still under contract, I think, for the next 5 years, and he's having an abysmal year. So it's not even like you can get real value with trading him. So it's kind of like you got to ride the ship out with him. So,
Yeah.
um, I, but if I was a GM, that's what I would do, really, because I thought about it when I was coming on here. Like, how would I fix them? Because I figured that might be one question. But man, really, it's just I would ride it out because you got so much, team friendly, players. Like even Michael Harris, who is on a team friendly deal for the next 7 years after this year. Riley's on his deal for the next 6, 7. Um, I think like I said, Ozzy's got I think 4 or 5 years left. Olsen's got about 5 years. So the core is going to be here. I think if you can get some of those guys to play well next year, and you have a season like this season, maybe you sell high on some of them, but really, like you kind of stuck with them. And the Braves aren't. We're not the Yankees, we're not the Mets, we're not gonna go sign a Soto or a big name. So
Yeah.
it's really you hope some of these guys, maybe with maybe with a change in the coaching staff, something will click with them and they'll get back right.
So have you been to any Braves games this year?
Not this year, man. I think, and I know you probably know as someone who's familiar with baseball, like that stadium is just in a very awkward part of the city compared to where I live. So I'm about, I'm about an hour and 30 minutes away in traffic.
Wow.
So yeah, getting all the way to Cobb County from where I live is a task, man. So I usually try to hit up one or two a year. If it was still downtown where the old stadium was, it'd be a lot more convenient because you could catch the MARTA. You don't have to necessarily fight that rush hour traffic to get there. But
Yeah.
now with that stadium being in Cobb County and no real public transportation, like you got to fight traffic to get over there. So I really don't get to go as much. But that stadium it's a nice stadium. It's just it's just in a in a part of town that's hard to get to for me.
Got you. I didn't realize it was you were that far away from the ballpark, but man, I don't blame
Yeah.
you. I wouldn't, especially with the way they've been playing. I'd probably only go once or twice a year myself.
Yeah, man. If I plan it out, like maybe, get away from the desk a little bit early, I can make it. But I think, and it was one of the questions I was going to ask you later, but I think I have a 2-year-old son who seems like he's going to be into baseball. So I will probably do it more often once he gets of age. I took him and then my 6-year-old daughter, who she also kind of is showing a little penchant for baseball. I
Okay.
took them to the All-Star uh, little soiree that they had where the fans could walk around the convention center and do some baseball stuff, and they both really liked it. So I my long-term goal is to take them to all 30 stadiums at some point. We've been to what, three of them so far. So I was going to ask you because I know you've been to a lot more stadiums. Like if you had to do it from scratch, like what are some tips you would use? What are some logistics maybe you would think about in terms of how to group stadiums together to maximize your trips?
Man, that's a great question. I never really put much thought into that. And honestly, I haven't really been to a lot more stadiums than you. I think I've only been to maybe five or six. But as far as the
Okay,
logistics,
I
um,
got you.
well, with the exception of Texas, I still haven't been to their new ballpark yet. But
Oh, you haven't
Been
been to
to
Globe Life?
what's up?
You haven't been to Globe Life yet?
No, not yet.
Oh man, I will say that I've been to Globe Life. I haven't been for a Rangers game. Auburn played out there. I don't think it was like 3 years ago. We
Hmm.
we we played a pre-conference tournament out there in Globe Life. And the way I describe it, man, it's almost like somebody put a baseball field in your living room. It just feels way too comfortable to be at a baseball game because it's very homey and it's such a big structure
Yeah,
that the baseball field is just a small part of like this gigantic stadium. And so you can be in parts of the stadium and not even really feel like a baseball game is going on, especially if it's pretty empty.
yeah,
Now, maybe when the Rangers are playing and they're winning World Series, it's a little different. But I know when I went, like there were parts of the park that weren't even open because it was just such a big stadium and the crowd wasn't really big enough to really accommodate it. So it's very modern, it's very nice, the food's good, but it's just if you're looking for fan experience and like an intimate setting, like I know you described PNC, which seems like it's pretty intimate.
yeah.
It's the total opposite, man. It's just a pretty big modern, stadium really.
Okay. So been haven't been there. Been to I still haven't been to Truist Field either. But
Okay, man, you gotta.
Tropicana Field, easily the worst stadium I've been to. It's like watching a baseball game in a warehouse. It's
Yeah,
absolutely terrible. Only the redeeming quality was that the tickets were dirt cheap.
yeah, man. I know I was in Tampa maybe about 3 or 4 years ago and almost went to a game, like you said, because it was so cheap. I was like, man, might as well. I'm here. But I think we ended up having to do something else. But yeah, that field, it does look rough on TV.
Yeah.
So I don't know what the leagues, I mean, I know the plan is to reopen Tropicana, but I know those fans were disheartened when they scrapped plans for that new stadium because I saw some renderings of it. It looked like it was going to be a major upgrade in terms of fan experience and just overall ballpark experience. So I was kind of I felt bad for him because that team is always competitive for whatever reason. Even with the issues they had and like having like your franchise player kind of, go away for the stuff he went away for and Wanda Franco, like they still find a way to like be competitive, man. It seems like every year they find something to be in the mix. So, those fans in that city, they deserve better given like the quality of the team they usually put on the field.
I completely agree. Completely agree. Um, I did Kansas City and St. Louis, and
Yep.
I did those a day apart. So
Yeah,
what I
you can do
did
that.
was, and honestly, with the except out before I went to PNC Park, Kansas City was Kauffman Stadium. That was my favorite MLB ballpark that I've been to
Yeah, I've
because it
heard good
just,
things about that one.
yeah, it's really cozy. I'd say it's almost like I'd call it like a quadruple A stadium. Like
Yep.
it has that kind of a feel to it. And then you got the water fountains
Hmm.
in the outfield. That was really cool. But
It's on my list to go to that park before they build a new one.
yeah,
I would love to experience Kaufman. I went to the old park in St. Louis. Like I was in school up there the year they won the championship, and like I think that was the last year of that old park before the new one opened. So I was kind of there when the construction was going on, and I'm glad I got to go to the old park, but I haven't been to a game in the new one yet.
yeah. The new one is nice. So actually, after I left Kansas City, I basically just took a Southwest flight. It's a nonstop
Yep.
flight to St. Louis, and I mean it's like $49. I'm like, why not?
It's cheap, man. And I mean, even the drive ain't bad. It's like a 3.5 hour drive
Yeah,
to Kansas City. So and then all of their stadiums are right downtown. So you can get to their stadiums pretty easily. So I mean, I definitely like the Midwest you could probably do in like a weekend. You can do a lot of those stadiums. Like, you got the two Chicago stadiums that you can knock out. Detroit's pretty close. Detroit's about a 4 hour drive. And then St. Louis is 4 hours the other way. So, I think I might do like a week in the Midwest where I can knock out all those stadiums. But I'm getting the plan together, man. I got a few more years before he gets old enough to really know what he's seeing. So that's my goal, man. I've seen some Facebook groups and some people do it, and I think it'd be real cool to kind of achieve that and give that to him as an experience.
Yeah, and I mean, it looks like you already got things thought out well ahead. So,
Yeah,
man,
I'm,
I
I'm
I
trying.
I, I love that for you, brother. Then next thing I want to talk about, because I never really discussed this really with any guest I've had on here,
Yeah.
but your love for college baseball. So how did that come to be?
Yeah, and that's really what I was like, man, I can come on there and talk college a little bit because I've listened to your show and a lot of it is predominantly professional, man. I'll tell you, I really didn't follow college baseball until I got to college, and when I was in college, and not to date myself, man, I'm not that old, but baseball was still kind of a non-revenue sport back then, so we would get free tickets at Auburn. And in the spring, man, like there's really no better place to be than sitting in the park. Like sometimes I'd even go to games and like bring my homework, read, just kind of be in the atmosphere. And it really was just a good way to kind of get away from like the routine stuff on campus. And then I used to tutor on campus, and I used to tutor a brother who was a baseball player. Like he wasn't a star or anything. His name was Doug Vines, and so. I had him, I had another guy I used to tutor, and so, they would, invite me to come out to the games and stuff, and I would come check them out, and really, I kind of kept up with them a little bit from there. Like we had our struggles at Auburn, so I really wasn't a diehard Auburn fan like I probably am now, but we hired a coach about 10 years ago that really has kind of revolutionized our program and really reinvigorated, the Auburn family in our baseball team. So that, in the probably in the past 10 years is when I really started to hit it hard and really keep up with them on a game by game basis. But, really, to talk about college baseball in general, really it is so dominated by the SEC. So, I had the privilege of watching some pretty good players come up through the ranks and like SEC baseball, man, I would compare it to like maybe, high class A, depending on competition, almost double A in terms of like the pitching you'll see, the sheer talent you'll run across every weekend. So it's high quality baseball, especially now with some of the stuff that's happened in recent years with, NIL really becoming a factor. A lot of these schools, deciding to invest a lot more money in baseball. Like it's a pretty cool experience and a pretty cool sport to watch. And I've loved seeing its growth in the past, I'd say like 10 years, really.
So, speaking of NIL, how do you think that it's improved the game?
All right, so I think it's a combination of NIL and a couple of things. So I don't know if you remember, but the MLB draft used to be 40 rounds. It was 40 rounds, God, as long as I can really remember. And so what used to happen a lot of times is, college guys, and so and take it back even further, college baseball more than any sport is probably, and I hate to call it a victim of Title IX because I really do believe in Title IX and its goals and giving women equal opportunity to earn scholarships and play, college athletics. So I don't want to call it a victim, but it's been impacted probably more than any sport that's kind of on that verge of being a revenue sport because you only had 11.7 scholarships and you could field teams of like, mid 40s in terms of guys. And so you imagine, 40 guys getting a piece of scholarship. So it really made it an uneven playing field, especially in the SEC. Yeah, I don't know if you know much about Alabama, but Alabama is the only state in the conference that doesn't have state gambling. And so all the schools around us in Georgia, Louisiana, Florida, they've all got state lotteries and they all have scholarships that people can get if they, achieve certain GPAs. So it really made the playing field uneven in the SEC for the Alabama schools for a long time. And so that was a factor. The draft being so long and them just being able to stockpile guys. And then if some guy decided he wasn't going to come, like you got more slot money to give to a 30 something round pick that you kind of took a Hail Mary on. So you saw a lot of like juniors, eligible sophomores leaving maybe a little bit earlier than they would because it's either play for free or I can go make a little bit of scratch and play, professional ball. And so I think when the draft reduced from 40 to 20 rounds, MLB teams had to be a little bit more careful about the guys they're picking because you got half the picks now. And then when NIL came, then schools could start giving players, comparable compensation to what they would make as a 17th round pick. Because the slot bonus after the 10th round is basically whatever they want to give you up to 150,000. And so if you're a star player and you're getting drafted 11th round, there's a good chance your school can be competitive if you're at a big time school to what you make as a minor leaguer. And, then you got you know, the onset of like all your games being on TV now, being able to stream. And so it's really all of those things have really made college baseball so much more competitive. You see a lot more kids who are coming out of high school just dropping out of draft altogether, or basically telling these teams if you're not gonna pay me 2-3 million, like I'm good. I'm gonna go to LSU. I'm gonna go to Florida, and I'm gonna be on TV. I'm gonna improve my stock. I'm gonna hit you back up when I'm a junior, and I'm gonna really increase that signing bonus. So it's just made college baseball so much more competitive. And then NIL is kind of even the playing field, along with them deciding to just they decided to make college baseball full scholarships for all their players, and they've reduced roster sizes from the mid 40s to like I think it's like 34 now.
Okay.
So all of those things they've made it more competitive if you're serious about baseball, but a lot harder to be competitive if you're a smaller school that just doesn't have the resources. So you're seeing a lot of the same things that you see in college basketball and college football in terms of the rich getting richer and really being able to separate themselves from some of like the mid majors, the G4 conferences. So it's good for a school like Auburn, but maybe bad for a school like Troy or like
Mhm.
South Alabama, who they've always been real competitive, but now that gap between what they can do with their roster and what Auburn can do has just grown because we got more money than they do.
Yeah. So, who are some of the best SEC baseball players that you've seen in person?
Oh
Let's
man.
say while you were at Auburn.
Okay, so while I was there, probably the best guy who played at Auburn was Josh Donaldson. And I'll be honest, he did not look like he was going to be that good when he was in college. It was kind of because he really wasn't a third baseman at Auburn. Like when he got recruited, when he came to campus, he was a catcher, and he caught most of the time he was there. He really didn't transition to third base until like his junior year before he was draft eligible. And so none of us really saw him being what he became as a pro, but he took off as a pro. I'm trying to think of some of the guys. Uh I've seen I've seen Paul Skeens play, but that's obviously not my time. It's weird that even though the SEC has all of these guys go, top picks, still only one guy has been a Hall of Famer, and that's Frank Thomas. So there's one SEC player that's been a Hall of Famer. I saw Todd Helton play. I don't know if you remember him. He used to play for the Rockies.
Tennessee. Yep.
Yeah, he was in college around the time I was. He wasn't really he didn't really stick out like that because he also was a football player. And so he was good at baseball. I mean, he was really good. I think he had some years where he hit over 400. but really didn't see him turn into what he turned into.
Yeah.
So either him or Josh Donaldson, from what I can remember, those are two that were probably the best ones that I remember seeing. I think Luke Hochaver was at Tennessee when I was there. He went first round. He pitched in the league a little bit, but it's gotten a lot better. And I think Paul Skeens is probably gonna be, when he's all said and done, he might be the best player to ever come out of the conference. Because what he's doing is just, man, I wish he was on a better team because he
Oh
is
man.
he
No
is
kidding.
electric.
No kidding. They just, I mean, every time he has a dominant start, his players are just
Yeah,
not putting up any runs.
at all. I mean, his ERA is, I think it's still, it was sub three. It might still be sub three.
It's 1.89 as of yesterday.
And I don't even think he might have a winning record, barely.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's insane. And yeah, I really had high hopes for them because their rotation is pretty good compared to what their bats are like. So. But I think in the recent years, man, you've seen guys like Jack Caglione. He just got promoted this year. He was at Florida. On your team, Langford, he was at Florida
Hmm.
recently. He literally, I don't even think spent a full year in minors before he got promoted to the
Yeah.
Rangers. I think he might be one of y'all's best players. I mean,
Yeah.
you got.
I agree.
I think this most recent crop of guys is really gonna be like the flag bearers in the SEC when it comes to baseball, man. It's so many guys that they're churning out that are just, and they're shooting through the ranks, and like it's not becoming so uncommon to see these guys just year one, year two already be major contributors in the MLB. So it's incredible, like the talent they play, and just it really prepares them to shoot through the ranks.
Yeah. And man, you talking about Skeens, and I completely forgot about Dylan Cruz
Yep,
that
and
played
Cruz is on that
LSU.
team too.
Yeah. So now we're going to get into the 5 question segment. For the first and last question is the same question I ask every guest I have on here.
Yep.
Questions 2 through 4, 100% random. So question number one: what were your go-to school lunch items?
Man, so I'll do elementary, middle school, and then I do high school. So
All right.
elementary school, man, I think almost everybody from where I'm from, man, pizza Fridays was it, man. I used to
Yep.
do the square pizzas with the ranch dressing on it, man. I thought I was high living with that. But then when I got to high school, so our high school, it was a predominantly black high school. I'll preface it before I say this, but we had the regular cafeteria, but we used to have this like offshoot cafeteria, and they would make, some days they'll have these Tony's pizzas, like these little personal Tony's pizzas,
What?
and then some days they'll have hot wings. So man, and them hot wings were hidden. Like we had black. I was in the all black high school, so them lunch ladies was back there hooking up them hot wings. But if one thing I had to pick from high school, man, it would be them Otis Spunkmeyer cookies, man. Like the home ec used to make them every Friday, and them Eminem Otis Spunkmeyers, man, lived on. Some days I wouldn't even eat lunch. I just go get them Otis Spunkmeyers and get that joint,
Yes.
the Gatorade. Hey,
Yes.
that
Man, I used to subsist off of them Otis Spunkmeyers in high school, man.
man,
Question
hey,
number two: what's the last restaurant that really made a good impression on you?
man, that's a great one. Last one that really made a great impression on me. Who? Probably I went to a restaurant here for not this past Mother's Day, but the Mother's Day before. Trying to think of it. It was a steakhouse in Buckhead. It was really, they had these Rockefeller oysters, man.
Hmm.
Just man, and then the the um the ribeye steak, they had like this aged ribeye. I mean, it melted in your mouth. Like it was worth every penny we spent that day. So that, I wish I could remember the name of it, but it was a joint here in Atlanta that is pretty popular. Some alley steak is if I remember it, I'll shout it back out because I do want them to get their name out here.
All right. And speaking of Atlanta, question number three: what do you like most about Atlanta?
Man, really, I love that I can live in a suburb with, highly ranked schools, but still live amongst my people, man. Like literally my neighbor to the right of us is a retired couple from New York. They're originally from Jamaica. Love them to death, man. They're kind of like the mother and father of the neighborhood. And neighbor to my left, like I really we got to watch their daughter grow up. She used to babysit my baby girl, and now she's got a master's degree and is going to be a news broadcaster in
Wow.
uh in Tallahassee. Neighbor in front to the left, like she's a principal. Her husband's, I think he's an investigator for the police. So, man, I really love that my kids get to see so many examples of us in professional settings, living productive lives, having neighborhoods with good school systems. And I really appreciate that I have to compromise that when I moved here. So that'd be the thing for me. It's just really being able to stay connected while still getting some of the benefits of living in the suburbs.
Man, I love that. Question number four: what was your favorite class at Auburn?
Man, my favorite class at Auburn was it's really a tie. So, business law was my favorite because that was a class that really changed the course of my life for real. When I was a sophomore, when I took that class, I was really when I went to college, I was pretty sure I wanted to go to law school, but man, every college student has that moment where like college starting to kick your ass, and you like, man, I don't know if I can do any more of this school shit. So my business law professor, rest his soul, he really poured into me and he pulled me aside when his office hours and he was just like, man, I really think you got a penchant for the law. We'd had conversations about going to law school, but he was like, man, I really want you to pursue it. I will be a reference for you. And I really believe you can do this. And like that really put the battery in my back. And he true to his word, he wrote me a recommendation. Um, but he died a couple years after I graduated. But man, I wish he could have known the impact he had on me, man, because he really didn't have to. Like he was a Southern white man. He had a raspy voice. Like I wouldn't have thought he would have been invested in me like that, but like he really had a big impact on my career. And then the second class was I took a macro accounting class, and he was a professor at the time, but he became the dean of the School of Accounting. He used to invite kids to his house for dinner if you scored like 100 or like a high A on an exam. And I scored a 100 on one of the exams, and like I was one of the only black kids to really, achieve that and go to his house. And I think that was the moment I really felt like, man, I can make a way here, man. Not only do I belong, but like I'm good, man. I got the academic prowess to compete with these people. Because, I went to a high school that was really looked down on in terms of like our academic standing in the state. Like a couple of years I was there, we were on academic probation, and we was kind of like the school in in
Lean on
what's the
me.
Lino? Yeah, we was the lean on me school a little bit where the state was threatening to take us over if we didn't improve our test scores. But man, it was so many, looking back on it, was so many talented kids around me. And I really think that experience, in a way, it was fortifying my confidence to really be able to do what I did at Auburn and go into law school. But that moment really kind of solidified it for me to like, yeah, I'm good. Like I got I got the training, I got the knowledge to really do what I want to academically. So
Yes,
those
sir.
are the two.
And last question. What was the last thing that really made you laugh?
Man, I was ready for this one. I was in a message board, well, it was like last week, and one of the topics was like name a movie that like just had you dying laughing. And so, man, one of my favorite movies to this day is Major Payne, and that scene when the cadet. They all like get ready to come to drill, and they thinking it's a layup. Like we got another drill sergeant. We about to run the game on this dude, and like we did the last couple of dudes. And man, he came out there roasted them kids, boy. Like I still like stomach hurting, crying, laughing at that joint, man. Damon Wayans, man, he is a beast in that movie. Like
He is.
I really don't feel like he get the credit he deserved for how well he played that role and like how serious he was, but still funny. Man, that joint, that opening scene though, that first 10 minutes when he meets them, man, I've seen it 100 times, man. I still laugh. I'll still be crying laughing at that joint. So after I wrote about it, I went and watched it, and sure enough, man,
What you
just
looking at? Ass
like
eyes? Man, so
yeah.
Lionel, man, great to chop it up with you, man. It, appreciate you reaching out, and man, let's do this again.
Oh,
Seriously,
absolutely, man. Anytime you need a guest, like I said, I'll be here to chop it up, man. I really appreciate getting on and being able to chop it up with you about some baseball. And I'm a fan, bro. So I really love what you're doing.
appreciate
You're always good on High Five Starter when you're on there. So and
it.
keep doing what you're doing, man. And sincerely, man, thank you for having me.
Thanks again, man. And thank you for listening. Make sure you like, download, or subscribe to At the Plate with Danny Foxworth. Tell a friend about the podcast. You can subscribe to my YouTube channel. You can find me at Danny Foxworth 843. There you can find videos for every episode of this podcast, as well as my candle podcast, A Wicked Good Time with Danny Foxworth, Growing Up Low Country with Liz and Danny, and Since We Last Spoke with Danny Foxworth. And for Mr. Esquire and myself, this has been another episode of At the Plate with Danny Foxworth. And until next time, y'all be good. Three strikes.